Hey friends, let's talk about your North Node and how to interpret the placement of your North Node in your natal chart. Now, the North Node is a really cool piece of the chart to explore because it basically is all about what you're here for, what you're up to in this life. Now, this can and often will include your work and your career, but that's just one piece of it. We're really looking at what your soul came in for, the lessons you're here to learn, what you're here to experience on a soul level. So it's one of my favorite parts of the chart to explore. And if you're in my world, it's likely that you are all about what your soul's here to do. So this is where we get to see the story. This is where we see what's up, what's happening. So there's two places that we're going to look to check out what's going on with your North Node. We're going to look at both the sign that it's in, which tells us about the qualities of this body, of this archetype that we're leaning into or learning or moving into. And we're also going to look at the house that it's in. And the house is going to give us insight into the area of life that this learning and growing is going to be either focused on or in some way expressed through or learned through. So you'll want to look at both the sign placement and the house placement. And the other thing to know about looking at your North Node is that it's really helpful in order to get the whole picture to look at the South Node, to get the whole dynamic and understand the polarities of the energy we're working with here. Now, astrology for me is all about understanding the depth of a story that's being expressed through you. And we're always working with words that are a bit limited and really communicating the concepts and the realities that are bigger than our minds can totally fully grasp. And that's why we lean into the archetypes for understanding, because they resonate with us on a deeper level. And even if our mind doesn't 100% grasp it, some part of us gets the energy that's being transmitted. So one way we can more grasp and really understand our North Node is looking at its opposite, the South Node. There's a couple important pieces or ways to understand the South Node. You may have heard that the South Node is about karma or baggage or what you're healing. And that's one piece of the picture. It can represent absolutely what needs to be healed in this time. There's an aspect here of release, of transmuting, letting go. This can include ancestral and just everything we're carrying that may not even be ours in this lifetime that needs to be let go. So that is one piece. But there's another really important piece of the South Node, and that's about understanding essentially what we came in with. The gifts that we already came in with that come naturally to us, that may come so naturally we may not even recognize them. You might think of it this way. If your soul had gone through so many lifetimes learning the lessons of a particular sign and of a particular house, and you came into this lifetime with those lessons, you've got those down. That's your South Node, and the polar opposite energy is going to be your North Node. That's where you're headed. That's where you're going. And it helps us to just understand and get the full picture when we look at the energy of both. So what's key to working with the South Node, North Node dynamic is, first of all, owning and embracing all of the depth of what we came in with. And that includes, yes, that there's stuff there to heal, but there's also deep gifts. There's probably gifts that are so much a part of you. You came in knowing how to do it, and you may not even recognize how brilliant you are in this area. That's all about the South Node. There's often a sense of a comfort zone to the South Node because it represents what we know, what we're comfortable in. And the North Node is going to be that very opposite polarity that represents where we're headed, the trajectory we're on, what our soul's growth is moving into. So there's often going to be a stepping out of possibly a sense of comfort zone or in some way a sense of familiarness into something that's unfamiliar. But it's also likely that that north node is going to have a sense of rightness. Like there's probably some part of you that knows that this is what you're here for. This is what you are headed into, even if it feels out of the comfort zone. So I'm going to invite you to look at the specific placement of your north node and south node, both the sign and the house, to get the full picture of what your soul's up to in this lifetime. Remembering that we're thinking about embracing and embodying the highest expression of the south node placement. So all that energy that we came in with, there's always going to be different ways we can express it. And there's always what we might call, for lack of a better way of putting it, higher and lower ways of expressing how this energy plays out. So understanding the South Node, North Node journey is about first owning and embodying and appreciating and leaning into the highest, most, the best expression that you can embody of your South Node gifts, while releasing what you no longer need from the South Node, and then looking at how can I move into this North Node, particularly where it challenges me and stretches me and takes me a little bit out of my comfort zone, but into a place where my soul is growing, where my soul is headed. So have fun, explore your charts placement in the videos to follow, and enjoy learning. This is what you're here for. This is what you're up to. Take care.